Hello there, world of tankers, and welcome to the channel. I'm of course your host, Droodles Blitz, and in today's video we are going to be asking a pretty simple question. What is the best line to grind in World of Tanks Blitz? Now we're going to be narrowing this search down to heavy tanks. Yes, there are a lot of mediums out there, and the T100 LT is absolutely busted at the time of recording today's video. But it's pretty easy to understand that heavies are the easiest class to play in the game, which is why we're going to be specifically talking about the best heavy to grind in Blitz. And what will that be? Well, the M6 is definitely up there on the categories. It's got a great gun, 3,000 damage per minute if you're running the 3-shell autoloader, and even if you're not and you're running the 2-shell, you still have 2,500 damage per minute, but you have a 1.71 second interclip. I still find the interclip too fast for this vehicle, and it is a pretty strong tank in Tier 10. The IS-7 has fantastic mobility, going up to a top speed of 50 kilometers per hour, at least in a straight line, and a very, very long straight line at that. It's also got very nice alpha at 460, plus incredibly troll side armor and very strong frontal armor as well. There's a reason why this is one of the most used comp heavy tanks out there. But I'm going to have to say that the 60 TP is the best Tier 10 to grind in World of Tanks Blitz. But not only Tier 10, but line to grind. When you get to a Tier 10, obviously you also have to grind the vehicles behind it. And the 50 TP is amazing. The 53 TP is regarded as one of the strongest Tier 8 in the game right now, and it's a tech tree tank. The really only vehicle that's not amazing on the line is the 45 TP. And it's not a bad tank, it's just not a great tank. Once you get past the Tier 7 and you get to Tier 8, it's smooth sailing all the way to Tier 10. If we take a look at the IS-7 line, grinding a stock IS-8 is possibly one of the most painful things you'll ever do in your life. The IS-3 is miserably outdated and irrelevant in Tier 8 nowadays, and the IS is a pretty mid Tier 7 as well. I'd rate it about the same as the 45 TP. When we take a look at the M7 Yo and the M6 Yo and the M5 Yo, I do think that the Yos are very strong. The Tier 10 is fantastic, the Tier 9 is amazing to grind, I love the Tier 8. The Tier 7 is an absolute pile of turd though. Once you get past the Tier 7, you're also smooth sailing on the Yo. But I just find the 60 TP as a Tier 10 to be better off than the Yo. First of all, this tank has great gun depression. Now the Yo actually has more, but the 60 TP sitting at 7 is not bad. It's enough to work any ridgeline, hull down, and the upper plate on this tank is incredibly strong. Its turret is basically impervious as long as you're aiming it towards the opponent you're shooting at, and its only real weak spot is a hatch on the roof when you're hull down. Now when you do expose the armor on this tank, it has a lot more weak spots. The lower plate is a pretty big shot, and it's only about 140 thick, so you'll cut through that lower plate quite easily. The sides are incredibly weak. They're just like the old IS-4 and IS-7 sides where you can butter straight through them, so you got to be careful about that. And it's also a very large tank, which means you're going to be quite an attention-grabbing vehicle, so if you expose yourself, you're probably going to be shot. But apart from that, the upsides massively outweigh any of the downsides. First of all, it carries a 152mm armament, which is now the highest caliber gun you'll carry on a Tier 10 heavy. It's able to deal 600 damage with a standard roll, and if you're running tungsten shells like you can see I am, well, then you're going to deal upwards of 690 average damage or something even crazy like that. So yeah, this tank can be very, very nasty with its rolls. Now it looks like the enemy IS-7 was crossing. There's the IS-7. Oh boy. Well, that's one of the downsides of the 60 TP you just saw there. It's the accuracy. It is dog water. I mean, that shell, it wasn't, a great aim shell, but it should have at least somewhat gone towards the IS-7, and yeah, that literally went nowhere. So let's see, there's the IS-7 off to the side, and this time, we got a connecting shot. Bit of a low roll, only 430 damage, but, as I always say, I'd rather get a low roll that penetrates than not get a penetration at all. So let's reload here. Our T-62A, for some reason, is off to this side of the map, which is not really helping anybody, but nice shell into the E5, and wow! Low rolls are us today, ladies and gentlemen. That's a 485 roll. Thankfully, it looks like my teammates were able to slap a massive chunk off that enemy E5. We're going to put on my adrenaline. I was hoping I could get a shell into that E5, but not the end anyway. We got the IS-7, and oh, this gun. Alright, let's reload. 8 more seconds, and then we are going to connect a shell on the enemy Chieftain Mark 6. We also got the 268 over here. So let's reload, and let's honestly put on tungsten shells because this will be a very, very hard tap. There you go. 678 damage in one beefy shell. That is where this tank feels, ooh, just so fantastic. 6 more seconds left, and we'll have another shell ready. So here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and nice. All right, let's get a big slap into that 60. Again, because I'm using tungsten shells, we are able to massively outtrade his vehicle, hitting him for over 700 hit points. The bad news is that my team's not doing all too amazing here. Thankfully, my chieftain was able to clear an opponent, and we're going to aim it on the side of this IS-7. Oh, but looks like this... I don't really know what the 60's thinking because he's just going to die now. I really thought that this guy was going to deal with the Mark 6, but okay, 60, you do you, buddy. There you go. Now you're dead. Congratulations. Well, we got the 268 off to the side, and yeah, I'm going to push up because the 268 and Mark 6 are dealing with my 50B, and I don't want that to happen, so I need to very quickly push up. We should be able to get a pretty big HE into the side of this Mark 6. Ooh, bit of a low roll, but you know what? It still was able to hit the guy quite hard, and I got a decent chunk of teammates left, but our 50B seems to be AFK, which is not great, but hey, at least we've gotten a pretty decent chunk of damage out so far. We do have base A captured, and apart from that, we got an IS-7 at base C. I'm going to push right onto the 62A. I'm hoping that my Mark 6 finishes him off, but no, he just didn't shoot. I don't want to waste a 600 damage shot. Thank you, Mark 6. I was about to say, I don't want to waste 600 damage on a tank that is a one-shot by quite a bit. So there you go. Nice tap into the 907 for 700 hit points. Again, the alpha on this tank just hits so much differently. And now, in a couple more seconds, we'll have another shell ready for this 907. Let's angle this hull. Wiggle, 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 and goodbye. You're not going to live. Capture that base, and there you have it. We were able to win this battle. I think our AMX 50B was AFK, but it didn't really matter because we were able to use our alpha, use our hit points, and everything, and come out with a pretty solid victory of 4,500 damage. You can see just where the 60 TP really does a good job. I forgot to mention that it also has a massive hit point pool at 2,756. That means that you can easily take shells from enemy opponents. Even if you bleed a bit, it doesn't really matter. I mean, you're only 250 less hit points than a mouse. Just run that through your mind. It's almost got the same hit points as the highest hit point pool in tier 10. And this tank's quite mobile. If you're running gear oil on it, you can get up to 40 kilometers per hour forward and 20 in reverse, which makes it an extremely mobile heavy tank. I'm honestly surprised that Wargaming hasn't nerfed this vehicle, either by taking away gear oil or removing tungsten shells, but hey, I guess suits your own, right? Here we are in our second battle. We got a Badger and a Grill 15 up against us for tier 10 tank destroyers. Apart from that, they got an IS-7 and a Mouse. Object 907, E50, and a T95. We have 3 tier 10 tank destroyers, which means we are already down a lot, especially because Wargaming really just sucks on the matchmaker, don't they? We have 1 tier 10 heavy being me and a T100 LT. They have 2 tier 10 heavies and a tier 10 and tier 9 medium light tank. So yeah, I'm really hoping our Skoda T50 and Centurion do their job, because look at that line of tank destroyers pushing up. I'm hoping I can do my job, because I am outnumbered on the heavy side, but I guess we'll see if my T100 LT is able to support me and help me out. Maybe their team's going to go towards the A side. You never know, but we do have a massive medium advantage, so as long as our mediums understand what to do, we might just be able to win this. So here we go. I'm going to push quite aggressive over towards this 907, because if I can do this correctly, I'm going to get a huge slap into his tank. There goes the 907, and boop! Oh yeah! That was really lucky, like extremely lucky, but sometimes you just gotta risk it for that biscuit, and it seems like that was the case right there. So we got the E50 off to the side. I'm gonna put on tungsten shells, and if we get to the rear, well, I was actually hoping we could HE his rear, but I guess not. I know you can HE it with certain 150s, but I guess tank destroyer pen and this vehicle's pen are just a little bit too much different. Well, our E50, or their E50 is gonna die. Impressively, our Skoda T50 managed to bleed almost all of his health. I really don't know how that even happens, but they are down 3 tanks. Like, already, they're down 3 tanks, because, as I said, their IS-7 and Mouse went towards A side. It was pretty easy to tell because the 60 TP goes 40 kilometers per hour, and if my tank goes 40, you would think, well, yeah, you'd spot the IS-7 that goes 50, right? Well, yeah, that's because the IS-7 went to the other side of the map, so their team basically threw what could have been a win. out into the trash. We're going to push up, and hopefully we'll be able to get a pretty big shell into one of these opponents. We got the 95 over here. Aiming, and there's the 95. Fire. Yeah, right into his track wheel. If you don't know, you can actually penetrate 1895's track wheel quite easily, too, as long as you have a slight angle on it, like you saw there. So not too bad. We're going to reload again. Couple more seconds. Hopefully we can get a shell maybe into the enemy IS-7. I don't want to get penned by the IS-7, though, but we could finish off this 95 pretty quickly. Boop. There you go. Nice tap. We're still at 1,800 hit points, by the way. We still got a massive chunk of hit points on our plate. And we just reload. I mean, this is what's great about it. That mouse is getting absolutely bullied. And, well, we got the IS-7 off to the side, so maybe we can get a shell in. Hello, IS-7. Oh, I can't get it in yet, but there you go. Nice tap. 592 hit points taken off. And let's plop on our adrenaline. Now, we do got the grill off to the side, but it doesn't look like that grill's going to be all too much of a problem. We got the IS-7 who did manage to clear that T100 LT with that mouse, but it's fine. We're going to use that good mobility, push off to the side of these vehicles, and we should be able to get a pretty beefy slap. Let's put on tungsten shells, and hello, IS-7. Yeah, 696. I mean, the alpha is just insane. Even if you can't really use the armor in every situation, like this IS-7 here, thinking that he's going to bounce my shell, we're just going to aim in here, and then a boop. There you go. Heat shell is easily going to finish off the enemy tank. So all that's left is the Grill 15, and I'm hoping that we might just be able to get a shell into him. So let's push up. Our E4 and Object 268 are pushing mighty fast. But all we need to do is come around this corner, and we should be able to get a shell in. So here we go. Speed, 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 speed. And there's the grill, and fire. Oh, no. This game robbed me. It just completely robbed me of that shell. I am so sad. All right, well, yeah, let's just push. I have a feeling that E4 is going to penetrate an HE and take away all the damage, but I guess we'll find out, right? Speed, 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 speed. Oh, wow, the grill actually managed to clear our T110 E4. Quite surprising, but there you go. Nice pen into the side. The guy was running Spall, but that's not too much of a worry for me because we're going to use our E4's carcass and just sit here. And yeah, there's really not much this grill can do in this situation. Reloading and dead. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. 2 back-to-back battles in my 60 TP, and that was just an easy way to showcase why this tank is so strong. Now, there are disadvantages. It has the least accurate heavy tank gun in the game right now, which is a pretty bad thing. I mean, you saw just in the grill shot there, when we were shooting at the IS-7 in the previous game, the gun misses a lot of easy shells, but as long as you're in the front line, it doesn't really miss all of the shells, and as long as you let it aim in just that bit, you'll hit most of them. So both of these games are over 4,000 damage. We were able to show what the tank does well at, where it's great, and yeah, hopefully you enjoyed today's video. I do personally believe that the 60 TP is the best tier 10 heavy tank to currently grind. I do feel the Concept 1B is still better overall because it's an overpowered tank, but that's a bit of a different story because that cost money. For free, this tank is amazing. There's a reason why it's being used in comp alongside the IS-7, and there's a reason why I'm suggesting to grind it in today's video. Apart from that, I'll be seeing you in the next one. Bye-bye!